Hello, everyone. This is Fadi, and I want to welcome you back to a continuation of this amazing series on the origin of the Quran. Last time, we alluded to the fact that we will be discussing the 7 steps that Christopher Luxembourg used in his book to make his case in terms of proving that there are words in the Quran that can date back to not Arabic, but rather Aramaic or Syriac. And today, with me here in studio, Dr. J. Smith is going to walk us through those 7 steps, and we will show you the book one more time in case you missed it last time, because we encourage all of you to go and buy this book. Believe it or not, before it becomes basically out of stock, or maybe even after we do this series, it will not be available anymore, so who knows. So, Dr. J, thank you so much again for doing this. And I see that you're holding the book in your hand. Again, if you can kindly read the name for people.
It's called The Syro-Aramaic Reading of the Quran by Christophe Luxembourg. And you can get this on Amazon.com or Amazon.co.uk or whatever Amazon in your particular part of the world. Grab it while there are stocks last, because they are being bought by people from all over the world, and people are reading it. Finally, they're reading it. Since it's been out from 2000, and I think they had to reprint it, and this is 2007. So the last printing is 2007. If we completely buy up all the stocks, they're going to have to reprint it again. But until that happens, get what is available.
What's the thesis of this book in general?
Really, it's decoding the language of the Quran. What they wanted to do is he wanted to find out really what was in the Quran. He's following what Gunther Lulling did in this book, and he wanted to take it one step further. And he said Gunther Lulling was the first to go and find the hymns that are in the poetry, these Christian hymns, and he did it just by taking off the harakats and the ijabs, the dots, and just went down to the razm. Well, he said, hold on a minute, there's another problem. And that is, when you go and look at the Quran, you will find there's about 25% of the Quran that just does not make sense. Mm-hmm. You know this, I've known this, all Muslim scholars know this. Muslim scholars have had a dilemma since as long as the Quran has been written. How do you deal with this 25%, which no one understands? The Muslim scholars don't understand, the Western scholars don't understand it. Some of these are these letters that we're going to talk about later.
Mysterious letters, yeah.
These mysterious letters, they call them mysterious letters because they are a mystery. No one understands. There is no rhyme or reason to them. So he decided, I'm going to try to find out. They call them the dark passages. That's the name that's given to them in academic terms. The dark passages. And he said, I'd like to find out what those dark passages are. And so he went back and he did what Gunther Lulling did, but he went much further than Gunther Lulling. And that's what we're going to talk about now.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, brother. And as everyone is watching right now, please make sure you take good notes of the things that we will be sharing. And if you run across something that maybe needs further clarification, send us an email or comment to us. But also, if you're someone, by the way, who speaks Aramaic or maybe Syriac, we welcome your feedback as well. So, brother, walk us through these 7 steps.
I've got them all here. And if you go up on pfanderfilms and you go back to the 22nd of November, I unpacked them one at a time in a video that I did there with our good friend, Thomas Alexander. And that's gone over 100,000 people have watched it.
And that's important, folks, because we piggyback on each other here. So please go for the larger explanation of this.
End of November, we did this. Over 100,000 people have watched because this is so dynamic. And the first thing, now let me just say this also to people who are watching. Whenever I do a video, I actually I do an outline of whatever's in that video in the description box. I'm given 800 words, and sometimes I fill up every one of those 800 words. So most of everything that's on the video will be there in the description box. I do that intentionally because I'm hearing an awful lot of you are saying, this is great stuff, but I can't remember it. By the time I end, I can't remember what I've seen. And if I want to use it with other people, if I want to introduce it for Muslims, how do I do it? Can you please write this up? So I have been for the last 2 years, I have been writing everything that's in my videos is written up. It is there, ready for you to use. And I'm just now, all I've done is I've taken my description boxes, and I said this too as I was coming down in the car. These are nothing than what you can are already there on the description box. Right. So let me just read what these 7 steps are. It's in the description box. You can go and see it, grab it, learn it, give it to your Muslim friends. You Muslims, show it to your imams, show it to your scholars, and say, Luxembourg has done you a favor, because he has gone back and he has taken the onion and he's peeled it. He has peeled it. Or, as we have been saying, he has sifted it. He has taken and he's put it through the sifter. And this is called textual criticism. It is straight textual criticism.
So what you're getting through is the pure stuff that
we're going to go down and we're going to find out what came out the other end. When he put it through the sift, what did he find? And he took 7 different ways to get to his conclusion. Number 1, what he first did, he went to these dark passages and he went to Al-Tabari from the 10th century. And he said, what does Al-Tabari say about this verse? What does Al-Tabari say about this verse? What does Al-Tabari say about these dark passages? This is commentary.
Right.
This is called tafsir. He applied the Quranic, the Islamic tafsir, which is what this is a no-brainer. You always start with that because he wanted to find out what the original Arabic meaning was for each one of these words or these phrases.
Right.
Didn't help him very much. So that was the first layer. But some words, he got some meanings.
Mm-hmm.
So then he went a step further. Step number 2, he then went to the Lisan al-Arab, which is
Lisan al-Arab, yeah.
This is from 1290. This is Ibn Manzur's dictionary, Arabic dictionary.
It's a very well-known dictionary, actually.
But it's the 13th century.
That's the unfortunate thing. But
it's way much later because the Quran was supposedly written in the 7th and 8th century, right?
And that's interesting you bring this up, by the way. Remember the word that our friend Shabir Ali picked on when you and I were doing a study on some of the variant readings in chapter 98. And he was using Lisan al-Arab, which I felt was a joke, actually, to rely on something later that was trying to reinterpret things. So I'm glad you brought the date up, actually.
Boy, those are good-looking threads you're wearing. What have I just said?
Yeah.
That would make no sense in the 1920s or the 1950s or even the 1960s. Those are gorgeous-looking threads you're wearing.
Yeah.
But today, we know those are great-looking clothes. The word thread, look at the word gay. We say he's a gay man. You look at the old movies.
It was being used.
Anybody who's a gay man means he was happy. You say he's a gay man today, and gay is a completely different meaning. It means he's a homosexual. So words change, especially from the 7th, 8th, 9th. Now we're talking about the 13th century, 1290 when this is written. And so Luxembourg did not help him much because that was much too late to make it. So he was getting fed up. He says, no wonder no one can find out the meaning because they have only been using Tabari and Manzur. And Manzur is much too late and Al-Tabari is too late. You've got to go to something else. So what he did next, this is number 3. He then looked for what they call, I'm going to get this right, homonymous roots in the Aramaic. So he said, hold on, let's go to the Aramaic. So he started going what this book is all about.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to another language. Let's go to a sister language. Oh, let's go to the language from which Arabic was derived. See, Arabic is a very new language.
Mm-hmm.
Muslims tell me all the time that Arabic has been around since God eternal. It is the God's holy language. It's what God has always spoken. No, there was no Arabic when Jesus was living. Do you know of any Arabic that you can point to? Any Arabic texts?
There are Arabs, but not necessarily the Arabic text.
There is nothing written at all.
Yeah.
We don't have any of it. Even, I would suggest, even the Arabic is something that is derived. And people don't realize that even Arabic is a new language. It is not as old as many of the archaic ancient languages because, for one very good reason, almost everything that we know in Arabic can only be given to us, brought to us. There's no recording of it. There is no way of knowing how old it is. The best we can go to is to look at the text itself. And there is no text prior to the 4th century AD. We have nothing prior. And one of the earliest that we have are the suspended poems by Ibn Qais. That's one of the earliest that we have. But nonetheless, let's go to the Aramaic, since this is the sister language from which the Arabic then was derived. We've talked about the Nabatean Aramaic. Well, this is Syro-Aramaic, so it's a little bit further north. This is up in what is today Damascus, which is one of the oldest cities in the world that existed. So he went back to looked for homonymous roots to see if there was any meaning in those. And he suddenly started coming across a lot of the material. The Aramaic started uncovering a lot for him, and this was a surprise to him. Well, it shouldn't have been because he's not the first to have thought it, because this is exactly what Gunther Luning found. So it's not that it was something new, it's just that no one had tried to do this before. So that was number 3. And he found out quite a bit of the passages. Then he went and he tried introducing the Aramaic diacritics, their dots and their vowels. And he came up with a whole new set of words. That was number 4. And then he wanted to look at the Aramaic roots. Once he put the Aramaic dots and vowels on it, he said, well, hold on a minute. let's look at the different types. So he moved them around. He said, let's put, instead of having the equivalent of the dhamma here, let's put a kasra here. Instead of putting a fatha here, let's put a dhamma here. So he started moving them around for the Aramaic equivalent. And he suddenly came up with a whole new set of words that suddenly a lot of these phrases started making sense. So that was number 5. Then he tried to retranslate the presumably Arabic words back into Aramaic. So he took the Arabic, put them back into Aramaic, and looked for the semantic meanings in a Syro-Aramaic environment, which is number 6. And almost all of it started to make sense. But there were still a few that were holdouts that he still couldn't find. So what did he do? Number 7, he looked for lost meanings of Arabic word by looking in the 10th century Syro-Aramaic lexicons. He went to the equivalent of the Manzur, the Ibn Mansur's lexicon. Yeah. He then went to the equivalent in the Aramaic lexicons, which were replete because there was lots of them. Because the Aramaic, remember, Aramaic lexicons have been around since the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th century because Aramaic was the liturgical language of all the Christians. So there's lots that he could do from. Once he had gone to that 7th step, he was able to uncover all the dark passages and also the mysterious letters. Now, what have I just done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tafsir, you go to the tafsir, sorry, you start with the tafsir, then you go to the Lisan al-Arab, which is the dictionary, then you go down to the homonymous roots, you go through the diacritics, then you look for Aramaic equivalent in diacritics, then you retranslate it back into Aramaic, and then finally you go to the lexicon, the Aramaic lexicon. By doing this, now this is straight textual criticism. He didn't make this up. We do this whenever we look at something that's been translated from one language to another or coming out of deriving from one text to another. You always go through this process. It's not something that he created out of nihilo. This was actually, ex nihilo, excuse me. This was actually straight textual criticism. And he has been castigated, he has been vilified, he has been categorized because 1 or 2 he got wrong. That's true. He did. You can find 1 or 2 and he's corrected that since time. That's called peer review. You need to do that.
That's right.
But by doing that, he was able to uncover all of the 25%. What's interesting is he went to those passages that talk about the Huris.
Yeah, I was going to mention he's known for that devastating discoveries that when you're talking about Hur and Ain or Huris, you're talking about graves.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
That's not what Muslims say.
Of course, that's not what
What's waiting for all these Muslims when they blow themselves up? And actually, in chapter 47, verse 4, and when they blow themselves up, and it says, if those who die in the cause of Allah, great shall be their reward. What reward is waiting for them? You need to go to chapter 55. You need to go to chapter 56. You need to go to chapter 76 and 75. And what do you find? These are these hurs waiting for them. These are these virginal women.
Pure virgins, basically.
With translucent skin.
That's right. That's right.
And firm breasts.
That's right.
What is translucent and what is firm and what is waiting for them in heaven? Hurs are in Aramaic actually grapes, which is the nectar of heaven, which is the fruit of heaven.
Right.
You look at Ephraim in the 4th century, and you can see, Mel sent me some pictures. He said, Jay, have you looked at these pictures from the 4th century of Ephraim's poem? You can see there's a picture of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in heaven. And what are they holding? They're holding a bunch of grapes.
I tell you what, Jay.
Let me finish. Translucent skin and firm, because that's the ripe grapes. That's what you're looking for, the firm, translucent skin. It has nothing to do with women. Yeah. It has everything to do with grapes. So what has the Arabic done to that which was nice and beautiful? It has bastardized the very idea of what's waiting for heaven for men. It has nothing to do with women. Almost everything you see in the Qur'an brings it back to women waiting for them. No, this is grapes that's waiting for us as we get to heaven. We're going to get into that in the next section, looking at some other examples.
I was going to say before, basically, you asked me to wait. I love grapes, but not to the point of dying for them. And sadly, our Muslim friends, after this discovery, they still insist that the language of the Quran is correct over something that at least consider tracing it back to the origin of that word. Because even in Arabic, it's kind of like really strange. You don't go around telling people, you look like a whore, you don't talk like this. Only the Quran uses language like this to describe women. And sadly, there's this sexual mentality that is embedded in the Quran that I've seen videos of soon-to-be martyrs who are actually excited that they're going to go to heaven right now after they blow themselves up to the whores, not to see God, to see the whores who are waiting for them. What a devastating thing.
It's absolutely devastating, especially when you realize what's waiting for us in heaven. It has nothing to do with
Amen.
photos, it has nothing to do with wine, women, and song. Sorry, women. It's Jesus that's waiting for us.
So what's next? You said we're going to talk about...
I'm going to give you 2 examples. I'm going to give you 2 examples from 2 different surahs where this sexualization, this, I call it bastardization of what was something that was pure, has been absolutely heinously rectified. I don't want to even use the word. It had been sexualized. This is what the Arabic Quran has done to what was usually usually at the beginning beautiful.
Amen. Thank you so much. And everyone, hopefully you are really tracking with us, taking notes of everything and sharing with our Muslim friends. Most even importantly, encouraging them not only to watch this series, but even encouraging them to buy these books that we've been at least sharing with you here and giving you their titles and showing them to you, because it's really important for you and for them to have these books in your library to go and explore the information that we are unpacking through. And this is why I like what we're doing here, me and Dr. J, is like you can get the book possibly, but I wonder if you can even have the time to go through it, or maybe even if you went through it, maybe there are still parts in there that don't make sense to you. This is why we're unpacking things for you to help you at least capture the big picture when it comes to those kind of information. Until we meet again next time, have a blessed day. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel CIRA International and click on the bell so that you receive notifications whenever we publish a new video or go live. I would also like to appeal to you to consider becoming a Patreon patron by clicking the link right below. By doing so, you can give towards the production of these videos. There are also other options for you where you can give to our channel. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.